There are 4 top quarterback prospects in this upcoming 2023 NFL Draft, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the floor and ceiling for the 4 top quarterbacks, including Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, and CJ Stroud. Today's video is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code PUNCHTHEAIR to receive $20 off your first order. But without further ado, let's hop right into the video. The first player we're going to be taking a look at today is Anthony Richardson. Richardson is a tough player to compare, as we haven't seen many QBs with this size and athleticism ever. He is in the top 0.01% of athletes that come out of college football to play the quarterback position. But when we take a look at his floor, I have him compared to Vince Young. Young was not as large and sculpted as Richardson, but was a feared runner when entering the NFL after his phenomenal career at Texas. But regardless, it's obvious that both of these guys can run. Young doesn't have the cannon of an arm like Richardson did either. Like Richardson, though, it was needed development as a passer that gave many pauses about Young's ability to mature into a franchise QB in the NFL. Young never became a rhythmic or reliable passer in the NFL, which led to him retiring and having a bust of a career. He did, however, have a solid rookie year and won the 2006 Rookie of the Year award, but his career diminished shortly after. Worst case, I can see Richardson being effective early on because of his legs, but you can only use your legs in the NFL for so long if the arm never develops with it. Now let's take a look at Richardson's ceiling. For his ceiling, we have him compared to Cam Newton. There aren't a lot of players in NFL history who can boast Richardson's skill set and size. At 6'4", 230 pounds, he is one of the best athletes in this class, as well as perhaps the strongest arm. To put it simply, he's a rare talent at the quarterback position. His ability to make throws outside the pocket, as well as being a truly dangerous running threat, make this comparison fairly easy. It must be said that Cam was a more developed player and better pure passer coming out of college, but beyond that, both players are stunningly similar. Both Richardson and Newton led their respective teams in rushing as the primary threat on the ground. They both have the same sky-high ceiling, and Richardson has the same MVP potential in the right situation. Now we're going to take a look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young was a tad bit tougher to find a floor because of his smaller size. Bearing health, Young is also a relatively safe prospect that should have a long career. But when we take a look at his floor, I have him compared to Tua Tagovailoa. Both of these guys coming out of college were extremely accurate, lacked the ideal size for a quarterback, and were both Bama guys. Like Tua, Young's accuracy is not going anywhere. I saw comparisons to Zach Wilson for Young, but I just can't see that happening based on what we've seen from Bryce Young at Bama. Young is a better playmaker and athlete than Tua, but could easily be limited in his production with his legs in the league, as he's fast but doesn't have Kyler Murray-like speed. Young has the capability to use his legs if needed, but didn't run as often as he could have in college. I honestly don't love this comparison for a floor, but with Tua suffering injuries, it seemed like the best fit. Bottom line, injuries are probably the only thing that's going to get in Bryce Young's way. As we've seen with Tua, injuries can be an extremely big deal if you are an undersized quarterback. If Young can stay healthy, he has the chance to be a very special player. For his ceiling, I have him compared to Drew Brees with more mobility. This has been a popular comparison for people as both quarterbacks lack size. Young's football IQ, arm talent, accuracy, height, and weight all compare to Drew Brees. Brees dominated in the NFL because of his deadly accuracy and took teams apart by understanding of what was in front of him, and his ability to put balls in just the right spot thanks to his elite instincts. Young can replicate this skill set and then some with his mobility and ability to make a ton of throws outside the pocket. Russell Wilson was also a consideration here, but Wilson has a much thicker frame than Young. Now let's take a look at CJ Stroud. For CJ Stroud's floor, I have him compared to Dwayne Haskins. I think Stroud will be a much more effective player in the NFL, but for a floor, I have him here. Stroud is 6'3", 220 pounds. Haskins is 6'3", 230. So both are an ideal size for a prototypical QB. Both of these guys coming out of college were known for their big arm, passing production, and are Ohio State guys. Stroud does have more experience than Haskins, but is not a super experienced college starter. Stroud is also a better athlete and has much better speed, but he failed to show that speed or much playmaking ability at the collegiate level. Similarly, both of these QBs play with much more talent on the field than the opponent, making them look better than they might actually be. Stroud has shown better football IQ than Haskins did in college, but has shown the need to play with better recognition and respect for safeties, along with throwing interceptions when he refuses to come off his first read. Again, I think Stroud will be much better than Haskins was in his short time, But when we take a look at the worst case scenario, this feels about right to me. When comparing Stroud and Haskins, we see the same build, big arm, limited playmaking ability, limited experience, and the Ohio State roots. Now, when we take a look at Stroud's ceiling, I have him compared to Joe Burrow. I feel he will ultimately be much closer to Burrow than Haskins when it all is said and done. Stroud and Burrow clock in at almost the same exact measurements, have tons of confidence, and throw a great deep ball. Like Burrow, Stroud has a strong but not great arm, and will take some sacks, as his desire to find an open vertical route on his second or third read will make him hold the football much longer than needed. Both of these guys are calm, cool, and collected quarterbacks with the aggressiveness and ball placement talent to register huge numbers. The gap I see right now between them is due to playmaking and extending plays with the legs. Burrow showed this past season he can make plays happen with his legs if nothing else is there during off-script plays. Stroud, for the most part of his collegiate career, has thrived off staying in the pocket. Now, I do believe Stroud is more than capable of adding this skill to his arsenal. He's a good athlete that ran a 4.56 40. Wherever Stroud goes, he won't be able to sit in the pocket like he did at Ohio State and will be more than likely to be forced to use his legs. Now, last but not least, let's take a look at Will Levis. For Will Levis, I have the floor compared to Sam Darnold. Another player with a ton of upside like Darnold, but has been prone to poor decision-making and some unnecessary hero ball. No one is selling the talent on Levis short. He is ideally everything you'd want to see from a franchise quarterback. Like Darnold, he's an impressive athlete, has prototypical size, a rocket arm, quick release, and the competitiveness you'd want to see. Levis at times has just been straight up inaccurate at the collegiate level, which is a lot what we've seen from Sam Darnold in the NFL. Both of these guys on paper check so many boxes from a franchise quarterback, but both were also seen as very raw players coming into the league. Fortunately for Darnold, he's never really developed into the player that many thought he could be. These players are scary similar, and if Levis doesn't develop properly in the NFL, he will be looking in a mirror at Darnold. Now, the ceiling for Levis is awfully enticing. Another player who was very raw coming out of college, but has developed into one of the game's best, I have Levis's ceiling matched with Josh Allen. Physically, they match up very similarly. Levis is 6'4", 240 pounds. Allen is 6'5", 237. Both have over 10-inch hands and elite arm strength. Both of these guys just ooze potential, but also have a pretty high bust rate. Allen is one of the fewer cases that has worked out in regarding to drafting a project. Both of these guys can run when the play breaks down, throw rockets downfield, and have great size. My fear for Levis is that he may not develop into much more. He's almost 24 years old. Allen was 21 when he got drafted. Allen also inherited Brian Dable, who helped his career tremendously. Who knows where Levis is going to land, but if it's in the wrong situation, I could easily see him turning into Sam Darnold rather than Josh Allen. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and leave any comments on what you want to see next.